Hello, this is Kate from dailytarotcard.com, and this is your weekly tarot card reading. And for this reading, I'm using my very favorite tarot deck, the Dame Darcy Mermaid Tarot. Okay, so I'm drawing 3 cards. Each card is going to represent a different portion of the upcoming week. And whoops, the camera's a little crooked here. And let's get started. Okay, so the first card represents Monday and Tuesday of the upcoming week. Ooh, and we've got the moon. The moon is such a mysterious tarot card, and a lot of people are afraid of the moon, and it's actually probably one of my favorite cards. The moon is essentially, it represents that part of ourselves that is like our wild animal self. You could also associate this self with kind of the unconscious part of ourselves, like the unconscious mind, dreams, because dreams will come from the unconscious mind, and just that kind of animal instinct. Maybe intuition is another thing that kind of comes to mind when I look at the moon. The moon is, it's darkness, it's nighttime, it's calm, it's quiet, it's cool, it's very yin, very female, very much going within. So what I'm getting from this card is that we move into the beginning of the week, and this card is asking you to pay attention to the animal side of yourself. And you can do this through recording dreams, but you can also do it, in a conscious kind of way through journaling. And even more simple is to just ask yourself, what do I really want? If there, and I mean, a really cool exercise to do is to imagine, to just pretend for a minute that you live in a world that doesn't really have, rules or laws, or no one's telling you what to do, and you can choose to do whatever you would like to do, and you can choose to live your life however you want. What would that life look like for you? And this is total fantasy. It does not have to be realistic. It does not have to be, it doesn't have to meet anyone else's approval, but like, what would you do? What would you do with your time? What would your relationships look like? What would you do for work, or would you even work? What would your life look like? And this is actually a really interesting way to get in touch with that wild kind of animal side, because this is the part of you that comes out that, isn't shaped by society or isn't shaped by a control system. And oftentimes this is the part of ourselves that is the most creative. So you can really get a lot of creativity from this part of yourself. Okay, so that's the beginning of the week. Middle of the week, we've got 4 of Wands. And interestingly, I was rambling on about, getting in touch with the part of yourself that is not shaped by society and a control system. And the 4 of Wands is about community and society. And so here you see someone, looks like the guy's proposing, and oftentimes the 4 of Wands will represent like a wedding or someone getting married. And really this card is about, sure, it's about like harmony and stuff like that, but it's really about like community, and also, I mean, that's the light side of the card. It's about community and connection and celebration and celebrating something within your community. The dark side of this card is it's about kind of like, I don't want to say social control, but it's about those social conventions that sometimes we don't like them. Sometimes they're limiting, like marriage. Like marriage is an institution that a lot of people find really limiting, and they feel like it's a prison. And then other times, other people, or perhaps those same people, might feel like marriage is this wonderful thing, and it's this wonderful commitment and this thing to be celebrated. So I just kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent there. So the Four of Wands, and what it means for you, because you're probably wondering, what does this mean for me in my week? The Four of Wands symbolizes basically harmony and stability, and it can symbolize like the need for downtime, spending time at home with your family. It can also symbolize a need to establish a sense of community. So that could be like just socializing within your community. It could even mean, if you feel inspired to do so, it could mean starting your own community. So starting a community around a particular interest or a hobby, or even like I'm going to say like a political interest or like some kind of activism or something like that, but starting your own community in a way. That's another thing that just kind of popped into my head with this card. Okay, so I want to move on to the next card. This is the card of the weekend, and I'm going to go over these cards again because I don't know if I've been very clear while I've been talking about these cards, so I will be going over them again briefly. So we've got the Seven of Wands for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Seven of Wands to me is a card of trying too hard. This card comes up when you're really basically trying too hard. You could find yourself, actually, hold on, let me stop. Okay, when it gets to the weekend, I want you to notice if you're trying too hard. You might be trying too hard in a relationship. You might be trying really hard to like impress somebody, or you might feel threatened that you're in competition with someone else. You may feel this way at work, like you might feel work is a really competitive environment, or perhaps you're just really trying hard to get someone's attention, or I don't know what, but this is definitely a card of like really pushing yourself and trying too hard. And it can come up when you feel like you're kind of under fire, or like in this card there's like the lightning in the background. It feels like someone's kind of cracking that whip, and you feel like you really have to kind of push yourself. And the whole point of this card is to really question that and take a step back, see if you can get some distance from the situation and see if it's really necessary for you to try that hard. Sometimes it's more powerful to, sometimes inaction is more powerful than action. And sometimes doing nothing is more, effective than doing something. And sometimes it pays to bide your time, wait it out, or step back and, get a different perspective rather than getting caught up in that everyday activity that can drive us crazy. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick step back here and look at all these cards together. Wow, they're all such different cards, such different energies and different cards, and I just really want to make them flow better. I feel like we're going to be doing some soul work at the beginning of the week, and I think it's going to be important this week to really get in touch with what your true self really wants, what your soul wants for you. I think we can get caught up in what other people want for us or what we think we should want for ourselves, but I think really do some work into getting clear on what you really want, what the deepest part of you really wants and where you want to go. And Four of Wands is about connecting with other people within your family and within your community. And when we can be when we know this part of ourselves, when we're not afraid to look at the dark side, when we're not afraid to look at the shadow self, our interactions and our relationships can be so much more authentic and so much deeper than if we ignore this part of ourselves. So that's how I'm going to connect those two cards. And I think when we know who we are and we don't shy away from the dark side and we can connect with others, it kind of puts us in an interesting position here. We're not going to feel like we have to prove anything to anyone. We're not going to feel like we have to prove ourselves. We're not going to feel like we have to, rush and push ourselves. Now, if we don't do our work here, we are going to feel this pressure. So if you get to the end of the week and you're feeling, this pressure, like you're trying too hard and you're struggling, go back and look at these two cards and think, what are my relationships like? Are they authentic? Are they deep? And what's the relationship with myself like? Is it authentic? Is it deep? Okay, thank you so much for watching. You can find out more on my website, dailytarotgirl.com.